The Thak man-eater. The Thak man-eater was a female Bengal tiger who killed and ate 4 human victims, 2 women, 2 men, between September and November 1938. She was operating in Kemlu, at the Nepalese border, between the villages Thak, Chuka, Kot Kindri, and Sem. The tigress was shot at about 6 p.m. on November 30, 1938 by Jim Corbett. This was the last man-eater killed by Corbett. The story about the Thak man-eater is known as one of the most dramatic stories about man-eating animals. Corbett was asked to track down and kill the man-eater after the very first human kill. It was unusual for India to react so promptly to the killing of a first human victim by an animal. The reason for this was that next to the remote villages of Chuka and Thak, where the man-eater was operating, the government decided to fell trees and thousands of workers were planned to work in the area from November 1938. Governmental officials wanted to get rid of the man-eater in order not to hamper forest works. As Corbett noted in the story, he agreed to go after the tigress primarily because he wanted to help villagers to get rid of her. Corbett described how he saw for the first time a female tiger which later became known as the Thak man-eater. According to the story, in April 1938 Corbett was concealed on a macan waiting for the Chuka man-eating tiger, but instead of a male man-eater a female tiger with 2 young cubs appeared. Corbett described in detail how the tigress was teaching cubs to move silently through the jungles, leading them towards the concealed kill, a carcass of a cow, and on a final stage of the search letting cubs to find the kill themselves, coordinating their search with occasional vocal signals. After cubs found the kill, she went to sleep close to the tree where Corbett was concealed. After the cubs finished feeding, she licked both of them clean and then the family left. Corbett's description is one of the first detailed accounts of how female tigers teach their cubs behavioral patterns necessary for the survival of the tigers in the wild. According to Corbett, between April and September, the tigress was apparently shot and wounded twice from a muzzle-loaded gun. One of the wounds to the left shoulder of the tigress became septic, incapacitating her at least for some time to hunt her usual prey. That was, according to Corbett, the reason the tigress started attacking humans, particularly as she had cubs to feed. Female tigers are known sometimes to resort to man-eating when they are partly incapacitated while raising cubs. From the first day of hunting her, Corbett realized that the tigress was hunting him and his men. Corbett was finding her pug marks following him wherever he went, so he had to be extremely careful not to become a victim. 2 wounds, received by the tigress earlier at the kill, made her very cautious and she was not coming back to her kills. This made hunting her particularly difficult, as the most popular way to kill a tiger is to ambush it coming back to its kill. The village Thak was abandoned because of the fear of the man-eater, and the doors of many houses were left open. Tiger pug marks were throughout the village streets and open doors, so Corbett had to be very careful not to give a chance to the tigress to attack him. Pug marks were also often found near the tents where Corbett and his men were sleeping during his first hunting expedition, at the confluence of the Ladya and Sarda rivers, near the village Sem. Apart from villagers, the tigress terrorized a 5,000-strong workforce who were working in a nearby Kamayachuk, where thousands of trees were being felled. On one occasion, the tigress came close to a building where workers were stationed, and workers started shouting at her to drive her away. Instead, very unnaturally for tigers, who usually avoid groups of shouting humans, this shouting infuriated the tigress and she came closer and with her roaring cowed thousands of workers into silence. According to Corbett, one of the cubs of the tigress, which Corbett saw together with his mother in April, was still around in October, November, the other one must have died. Corbett saw on many occasions the pug marks of a young male tiger in October and November. November is a mating season for tigers, so the tigress calls were often heard. Corbett failed to kill the tigress during all 3 weeks of hunting. On the last evening of his hunt, November 30th, Corbett conceded defeat. After collecting his men and his 2 goats and walking to his camp with the decision to leave early morning next day, Corbett heard the tigress calling for a mate again. Corbett decided to try to deceive the tigress by himself calling as though a male tiger, as a last chance to get a shot at her. The tigress responded to Corbett's call, and during the next 30 minutes she gradually approached Corbett and his men. They were on a path between the villages Thak and Chuka when he heard the first calls of the tigress, so finding a place to meet the man-eater became crucial for him. He decided on a 4-foot-high rock on a piece of flat land about 800 meters from the village of Thak, on the path from Thak to Chuka. Sitting sideways on a narrow ledge at the back of the rock, Corbett rested his rifle on the top of the rock. The light was fading. And as Corbett did not have a lamp or flashlight, he was afraid that the tigress would appear too late and he would be unable to see her in the dark. This would have left Corbett and his men at a mercy of a man-eating tigress, enraged by her failed attempt to find a mate. Fortunately for Corbett, the tigress appeared in front of him in the fading light, and he killed her with 2 bullets at close range. The recoil of the shots knocked Corbett from the ledge where he was sitting, and he fell on top of his 4 men and 2 goats, who were sitting silently behind the rock, terrorized by the roar of the approaching tigress. This was the last man-eating tiger killed by Corbett, ending his 32 years career of hunting man-eating tigers and leopards. Corbett was 63 at the time.